In this video, I'm going to show you how to make your ads more profitable by using the right frequency settings. The reason this is so important is if you don't use these frequency settings, you can hit the same viewer with your ad hundreds of times and they might not be interested and you're wasting a bunch of money. So it's important to have these frequency settings set up, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that so you can go do this on your own and help save wasted ad spend. Now, before we get into this, make sure to smash that subscribe button, like Hulk smash it. All right, let's get right into it. So what is frequency? Frequency is basically how often users see your ad. It's really important because it ensures that your ad isn't shown to the same people over and over when they're not interested, and that can just basically throw some money down the toilet, and you want to limit that if possible. Now, with Google ads and YouTube ads, there's two ways you can control frequency. Number one is by impressions, and impression is, even if they skip the ad after watching 2 or 3 seconds, that's an impression. Now, a view is when they watch 30 seconds or longer. So you can limit by impression and by view, and we show you how to do both in this video. So I want to give you a disclaimer first. Google can be a little inaccurate with how it reports the frequency settings and the frequency that people are seeing. So the way you can go and see how many times your ads are being shown by users, which is pretty inaccurate, but I just want you guys to know, just so you have an idea, is if you go in here. So there's first frequency distribution, there's average impressions per frequency, and average impression frequency per user. This is 30 days, this is 7 days, right? And then there's average impression frequency per user, which is over whatever time period you're showing them. So these are kind of the columns you can use. So as you can see here, you have this frequency distribution. It's saying everybody's just seen it once, right? And doesn't really show anybody shown it as twice, but then it says that the average frequency impression is actually 1.1. So there have to be people that viewed it twice. So that's what I'm saying, where I think these impression metrics in many cases are quite inaccurate. Sometimes we'll be running for campaigns for clients and it will say 1.1, 1.2, and really we know that's inaccurate and it's actually being shown more. So you want to be aware of that in the sense that these metrics right here can be quite inaccurate. And what you really want to do is instead just set up standard frequency caps and not worry too much about what these show, because a lot of times they're going to be not very accurate. So what are my recommendations for frequency caps? So I have some standard recommendations that you can use, and before I get into the standard recommendations, I can show you where you can set this up. So you go into your campaign, you go into settings. Now what you want to do is you want to go into additional settings, go into frequency caps. Now as you can see, we've set a 3 impressions frequency cap per day and 2 per month per views. Now obviously you can modify this. Now my recommendations are, if you're spending less than $1,000 a day, I would have pretty limited caps on basically cold traffic, right? So either I would have no caps on views in cold traffic, or I would do something like, 2 times a week, right? In this case, we have some stricter restrictions because we're running a lot of different cold campaigns, but typically you don't really need too many caps on cold traffic, right? Now on warm traffic, if you're running any kind of warm or retargeting traffic, I recommend 2 views a week as one of the caps, and then 4 impressions per week as the other cap. So that way you're not hitting your warm audiences too much, because the issue that happens is when you're spending low amounts of money, it's not really cold audiences where you start getting a lot of frequency, it's the warm audiences. So if you're spending low amounts of money, below $1,000 a day, for the cold traffic, you really don't need to worry about setting frequency caps. Now for higher spend accounts where you're spending more than $1,000 a day, that's where maybe you might want to be a bit stricter, because usually that's where we start seeing ads showing up to the same person a lot of times. So with higher spend accounts, I would do 3 views a week for the view cap, and then 6 impressions a week on cold campaigns. On warm traffic, what I would do is 1 view a week and 2 impressions per week for your warm campaigns, right? And that way you can kind of control the frequency, because at that spend, you're gonna be hitting the same people a lot, and you're still giving them a lot of room to basically see your ads, but now you're ensuring that you're not hitting them so many times over where they're not even interested. And the caps are a lot tighter on the warm traffic because of the fact that, obviously they're already in your ecosystem. So the chances of them getting retargeted 50, 60 times is much more high than, let's say, somebody who's in a cold audience where, they might see your ad a few times, but they're not going to see it like 40, 50 times. So that's something to keep in mind. Another reason why the caps are so tight on the retargeting campaigns is if you have 2 or 3 retargeting campaigns, chances are they're going to hit the same person from 2 or 3 campaigns. So you're going to have a lot of views coming in and from different campaigns and overlapping and so on. And it's really hard to exclude like everybody, because the thing is, even if you're running a retargeting campaign, you may exclude purchasers, but if you just start excluding like too many people in the funnel, it really restricts spend. So we might do 30-day views of the YouTube channel and exclude purchasers, but we're not going to exclude anybody who's been on the website, because then it's just going to give the algorithm too little space to spend. So that's kind of the logic behind why we keep the frequency caps relatively tight on warm traffic, because we know there are multiple campaigns that probably target the same person. Now, to summarize, it's going to be hard to exactly control how many times people see your ads because of the overlapping campaigns, but if you set some limits, it's going to make sure things don't get too crazy on the same person, and it's going to keep your spend a little bit more efficient. Now, this isn't something that's going to just make or break your campaign. This might add a little bit more efficiency, but really the biggest focus should be on your creative, your targeting, and your funnel. And frequency settings is just some recommendations here that could help a little bit, but really it's not gonna move things too much. Now, armed with this knowledge, you can go out there, set these up, and rest assured that, hey, okay, we've got some frequency settings set up to limit the amount of views for the same user, make your ad spend a little bit more efficient. So guys, make sure to smash the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you get to know about our next video sooner than anybody else.